Welcome to the Lifeline, a production of Simply BJE. The goal of this podcast is to build, inspire, and to empower our listeners through conversations on business, leadership, and mental health. We invite you to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and at www.simplybje.com/the Lifeline. Now, let's tune in for today's episode. Top of the day, everyone. Thank you for joining us for another episode of The Lifeline. We're your host, life strategist and entrepreneur, Bo Powell, social media influencer and owner of the For Real brand, Lindsberg Petway, and yours truly, leadership consultant and mental health advocate, Barry J. Elliott. You can visit us at www.simplybje.com/The Lifeline. And you can also check us out and subscribe to our content on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and now on TikTok. And then share with a family member, a friend, or a coworker. Well, today we are blessed to have guest Joshua Roberson, who holds a BS in finance. Mr. Roberson is a deputy director for the City of Detroit Department of Neighborhoods. He is also a servant leader in policy, finance, and community development. He has a tremendous passion for building communities, shaping equitable policy, and empowering others through financial education. In addition to his public service, he serves as vice chairman of the boards of One Detroit Credit Union, helping to orchestrate the hiring of the organization's first Black female CEO in its 90-year history. Beyond his professional roles, he proudly serves his community as a mentor, public speaker, high school football coach, and young adult pastor at Abundant Life Christian Center in Redford, Michigan. Mr. Roberson, how are you today?
I'm doing well, gentlemen. How are you all?
We're
Great, super.
We're glad to have you. Glad to have you.
Appreciate it.
Those are a lot of titles, Mr. Joshua. I am excited today because I have been knowing Joshua for over 20 some years. And I just want to say that it is very powerful to sit across or virtually sit across from a former student who is now leading in such a high level in the city in which you grew up. When you look at your journey, what early influences or who influenced you or your experiences that shape you into the man and leader you are today?
Inconspicuous much? Inconspicuous much?
No pressure, man. Listen, I call him Coach Petway because I've been calling him that as long as I've known him. But he's it is for me, even in adulthood, it's still a form of respect. And again, coming from being raised by a single mother who had me at 15, freshman in high school, and again, my grandmother was 38 when I was born. Having male influences in my life was a big thing for me. And so Coach Petway, along with so many other people, different deacons, different elders at my church, I'm a man of faith. And so, I have a lot of mentors, and I just personally believe that God provides supplements for what you are lacking. And he's not going to let you just fall by the wayside. He's going to insert men and women into your life that can really give you things, nuggets. I can take one thing away from a man, or I can take away several things. And, Coach Petway, I appreciate him being a father, being a husband, having boys. Me and Coach, we were at a funeral of a friend of mine's, and he spoke at the funeral. He talked about how the family that was experiencing the loss, they had, a bunch of boys and one girl, and how he was trying to get there. He got 3 boys and didn't get that girl, but I feel the same about him. I want to get that family and that wonderful wife, and his wife used to be my 3rd grade teacher.
He used to crush on my wife. I had to beat him up.
Oh man, listen. Listen, when I met her, she was Hogan.
Yes, this is true.
Beautiful. She wasn't yours yet, bro.
Yeah. She's beautiful lady, and beautiful spirit. And I think that's from his wife. That's what I picked up. You pull different things from people. Like, I want to be that type of husband. I want to have that type of wife, and you pick up on people's spirit and people's attributes and character. And as my bishop would say, some things are better caught than taught.
Absolutely.
And so I I have caught a lot of things from people like Coach and other gentlemen in my life, and so I'm just grateful, man.
So
Awesome.
what
Yeah.
made you want to get into politics? You love football, but how did you, transition to what you're doing now?
Yeah, I believe, again, being a man of faith, I believe that there are different spheres of influence. There are different mountains: government, religion, finance, arts and entertainment. And somehow, some way, God moved me into the mountain of government. And I was originally, my background is finance. I've worked for credit unions, banks, investment firms. So for 10 years, my background has been finance. But the Lord allowed me to speak in front of a group of people in the city of Detroit's government. And the person that was leading that group of people called me and said, "Hey, you know what? I want to hire some good black men."
Mm.
Wow.
And they said, "Are you interested?" And I said, "Absolutely." I didn't know what the job was. I didn't know if it required a degree. And when I told my mother and my grandmother, they was like, "What? You've been at this job you at now for just 9 or 10 months. You ready to leave now?" And then I said, "Hey, I got an interview with the mayor of the city of Detroit." What?
Wow.
And it's like, and unfortunately, the lesson I want to tell people about is that although, you can't be afraid to take that chance, people, even your parents, your family that have not experienced certain things, you cannot allow other people's fear or trepidation to hinder you or stifle you. And I tease my mother and my grandmother now, and I say, "Hey, 3 years ago, y'all was nervous and shaking in your boots when I was taking this position, didn't know if I could do it." And so now they just have more, their faith has been built up. They have more confidence now, and they've just seen me grow over the years. So that's how I got into politics, kind of, just basically being articulate and having another man and woman
Mhm.
who are Black African American men recognize a gift in me and give me that chance.
Wow.
Man, that's an incredible story, man. And when you start thinking about politics, sometimes it seems like politics seem to be disconnected from people. And in one of your roles as the deputy director of Department of Neighborhoods, I understand that you're leading teams that's really focused on bridging that gap
Yeah.
between politics and people. So talk to us a little bit about, what servant leadership looks like to you, and what are some of the things that you're doing to keep your team rooted and grounded in purpose?
Mm.
Servant leadership, man, that's a great question. It looks like empathy.
Mm.
I always talk to residents. We have 650,000 residents in the city of Detroit, 208 neighborhoods across 7 council districts, or what some cities may consider boroughs or wards. And we have over 600 block clubs and neighborhood associations. And it's very diverse, different types of people. And I often, tout that say, "Hey, I've been on every bus in the city of Detroit. I can name them by number, not
Wow.
because I chose to, but because I had to,
Right.
but transportation purposes. So being able to be touched with the feeling of their infirmities, and not just being behind a desk, but being in the actual neighborhoods, going to the block club meetings, going to the neighborhood association meetings, hearing the issues, man. Whether it's somebody's trash that didn't get picked up, or whether it was a police issue that they need help on. Nothing is too small and nothing is too big. And so really understanding the needs of people, putting yourself in their shoes, and remembering that you are a Detroiter. My entire team are born and raised Detroiters.
Mhm.
And they do not have an air about themselves. It's like, "I've been there, I've done that, I've been in your shoes, I live in the neighborhoods you live in." So just eliminating that elitism
That's good.
and just being like, "Hey, down to earth, we are here, we're with you. Although we have these titles and this influence, we still can be touched with the feelings."
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. So your work is right at the intersection of policy, finance, and neighborhood. What is one of the biggest misconception people have about the communities you serve? A lot of people see Detroit. We have the draft. We got the new Hudson building. There's a lot of buildup downtown. And
Yep.
in this last mayoral candidate race, that was one of the main issues. So what's one of the misconceptions that people are really saying about Detroit when it comes to the communities?
Yeah, so first off, there's a misconception that Detroit is not diverse.
Mm.
Even though we are a majority African American city, we have Hispanic community very heavy, Arabic community very heavy, Polish community very heavy. And we are all in our different silos and areas, and we're spread out around the city, but we're very diverse. Um, and also, there's this tale, as Coach Petway alluded to, there's this, narrative that there's a tale of two cities, that there's a downtown and then there are the neighborhoods. And all of this investment has gone downtown, but it has not reached the neighborhoods. And I personally, in my 3 years in the city, as far as working for the city, have to push back against it because you got a $3.5 billion project. Henry Ford Hospital is expanding their hospital. The Detroit Pistons are doing 400 apartments in the neighborhoods. You got organizations around the city building up houses, rehabs. We had over a decade ago 100,000 people leave the city of Detroit. They left 47,000 houses.
Right.
And so we tore down 25,000. We rehabbed 20,000. In the Detroit Land Bank, we're right now around under 2,000 houses left. We have so much land that people are buying. They're turning into gardens. They building new houses. And we got streetscapes going on, calming the traffic. I mean, it's just incredible. Michigan State University, new research facility in the neighborhoods for cancer and other diseases. University of Michigan Innovation Center being built near one of our high schools on Grand River. I mean, I could just go on and on and on. We have so much investment going on in the neighborhoods. Now, I'm not saying it's enough.
Right.
I am saying that we can still do more. We can still do better. But what I'm saying is that I don't believe that there's a tale of two cities. I believe that we're doing what we can do, and we can just keep growing on that. So that's what I would say is the biggest misconception.
Wow. Yeah, that's powerful. I mean, and you summed it up. Being a resident in Detroit and now living in the suburbs, it's a misconception to the people out here, because when they go down, they going downtown, they're
Yep.
skating, they going to the tree lighting, all the new restaurants, and they don't believe that the communities are being served. But you just explained that how that's happening. And not only from a political standpoint, you're doing some things from the financial standpoint. You helped drive some historical firsts with One Detroit Credit Union and the Central Detroit Christian. On top of that, you created the Road to A status. Tell us about that financial literacy, and think you're taking it into schools and families. What does that mean for the city of Detroit residents?
Absolutely. So just to touch on the board positions, I want to encourage everybody who, participates and they're civically engaged to try your best to get on organizations boards that you're really passionate about. One Detroit Credit Union, I used to work there over a decade ago. And they used to be called Communicating Arts Credit Union. So they were a credit union tailored towards people who worked for the news stations, the newspapers, things like that, media outlets. And then we changed our name. I was a part of that rebranding team, helping to change the name to One Detroit Credit Union. And I started to work there like as a banker, and I just kept around, kept my connections to the CEO.
Just be Joshua. That's what you do.
Yeah, I just kept my connections, and then next thing I asked to be on the board. I was associate board member, didn't have voting power, then was promoted to the board, and then promoted to the vice chair. It happened pretty quickly because of some changes in leadership. But being in that space and that place, we had a CEO who was approaching retirement age, and we were looking for leadership. And I just was an advocate, a strong advocate to have African American leadership. 90% of our loans go to African Americans.
Wow.
We are the only financial institution in Highland Park, Michigan, the only financial institution in Inkster, Michigan. And breaking news, Q1 right here on Lifeline, we'll be the only financial institution in River Rouge,
Wow.
Michigan. And so these are primarily African American cities, smaller suburbs of Detroit that do not have financial representation. Inkster did not have a financial institution in 8 years.
Wow.
Their senior citizens had to be bused from Inkster to another city just to do their banking.
Wow.
And so we're headquartered in Detroit, and we're intentionally doing things in art. And this is the vision of our CEO, Portia Powell, who is the first Black and female CEO in 90 years of the credit union's history. And she's doing amazing work. And we're looking for other cities who are underrepresented. And again, what people don't know is that Detroit is the most unbanked and underbanked, one of the top 5 unbanked and underbanked cities in America.
Wow.
Really?
And unbanked meaning people are just using, Cash App or things like that, or they don't have anything at all. And then
Wow.
underbanked meaning, hey, you might be using a pay card from your employer or something like that. But unfortunately, Detroit, we're trying to drive Detroit to a better banking lifestyle, lending, things like that, more financial literacy. And then the Central Detroit Christian CDC has been around for 30 years, founded by an incredible woman who happens to be a white lady. Her name is Lisa Johannan. When my mother and I, at one point in time in our life, was being evicted, my pastor called Lisa to see if she could find us some housing, and she helped in that area. And again, I stayed connected. And I said, you know what, this is an organization I believe in, and I really want to be a part of it. So I ascended to the vice chairman of that board as well. And now we have hired the first Black male CEO in that 30-year history. She's the founder, and now we're transferring the power to this Black male CEO. And Kyle is going to do a great job, and we're just super excited for that. So these are the reasons I want to encourage people to get involved in boards, commissions,
Mhm.
advisory boards, because you can really help change policy and representation, and really make sure that your people are represented in great things. Central Detroit Christian CDC, Community Development Corporation, they do affordable housing. They do early childhood development, feeding programs. They have a grocery store called Peaches and Greens. They have a laundromat called Fit and Fold in the city. They hire people in the neighborhood. Just a great organization, man. And so I love to be a part of that. Now, to kind of answer the second part of your question, the road to A status came from me working at the credit union. The CEO at the time, who I end up, transitioning with and helping to transition Portia into, I asked him, I said, why do we still service people? Somebody can be a member for 10 years and still be at D and E and C credit.
Right.
Why are we not helping them get to A status? And that is where the name came from, the road to A status. We're still doing the same things. We're letting them borrow from us, but they're not doing well financially in other areas of their life, or paying the money back to other people. Why aren't we giving them more financial coaching, more literacy? And unfortunately, he didn't have a great answer for me at the time. And so it birthed something in me, which was the road to A status financial consulting. So I really deal with a lot of young men, young people, churches, schools. I have a conference, a workshop this Saturday at a church in Detroit. And, really just trying to get the word out, because as Coach Pet way back in the day, I would always hear older people say, oh, if I knew then what I know now.
Mhm.
And I'm like, well, why didn't you know then? And that is the problem I'm trying to solve, is people knowing earlier
Mhm.
information.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And Joshua, just a side note, gentlemen, and to our listeners, I'm in automotive sales, and sometimes I deal with African Americans who have less than perfect credit. Sometimes it's very, very bad. So when I get the opportunity to put them into a vehicle, they have a tremendously high interest rate. But One Detroit Credit Union has a program called Cut Your Rate in Half. And he introduced that to me, and it's been a game changer because I don't just sell cars, I educate my clients. So once that deal is done, I give them the card. I've met with the manager, I set them up, go see them. You need to do this. They're not going to extend your term. So if you made like 24 payments, they're not going to start you over. They're going to
Mm-mm.
take that rate, cut it in half, and that rate cut could save a person $50 to $100 a month. And that's one of the things I think you mentioned about changing people from D status to A status, not just taking their money, but empowering them. That's powerful there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Bo, you like you wanted to say something earlier. I didn't want to cut you off.
Mm.
You good? Okay, okay.
Yeah, good.
This is good information. I appreciate because a lot of times we leave out people, we get their money, but we don't educate them. So I'm glad about that. Glad to hear that. So and I think you've already answered this, but from your perspective, what do you think is the biggest barrier stopping people from achieving financial stability? And what conversations do we need to start having with young people right now about purpose, money, and long-term vision to change that paradigm?
To answer your question, which is a great question, I think the number one thing is exposure.
Mm,
Exposure at an early age. I'm talking about elementary school.
absolutely.
My mother was she talked to me very candidly about our finances, about our family. She talked to me about my great grandfather, who was her grandfather, renting a home from 1976 to 1990 to his death. And then the family continued to rent the home for another 6 years. So that's 20 years of making rental payments. And she would say to me, like, Josh, if we owned that home and if we kept it in the family, then when we ran up on hard times, we could always go to that home, you know? And she was just very candid with me about financial literacy. Even when, being a big head teenager or early 20s, I wanted to move out early. My mother sat down with me, wrote down, here are the bills you would have to take care of if you lived on your own. Can you afford that?
Good
When I was
Lord.
working at Popeye's Chicken making $6.40 an hour, she was having very candid conversations. Like, hey, you can't afford this, son. And so I think exposure at an early age, candid, open conversations, not being afraid of telling your testimony is how we can really overcome. And I really believe that even young people, again, right now, they got to get the lessons early. And now, thanks be to God, I'm in the process. The house that my great grandfather rented for all those years was torn down.
Oh, wow.
I'm, I'm in the process of buying the land that house sat.
Wow. Amazing.
And so now your great grandson will own the land that you used to rent.
Mm.
Man.
And I plan on putting a garden there, a memorial garden in his name and my great grandmother's name in the city of Detroit. And in 3 years or so, I can build my own house,
Mm.
Yeah.
you know? And so that is the type of mindset that I would love for every young person to have at an earlier age before you make all your mistakes and have to
Yes.
recover.
It has
Yes.
to happen at an early age because it becomes a foundation rather than just trying to get it quick because what they see on social media. If it's a part of who you are, it's a part of the educational process, then it becomes like one plus one is two. You know, this is what I have to do to be successful. I have to save. I have to have a credit score. You know, I need to own my own home. So that's very powerful there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
Coach,
know,
it's this fear of missing out that young people have. Number one. Number two is delayed gratification. Those are the two lessons I think young people at this point in stage, they really need to learn is, hey, you got to get rid of that fear of missing out and you got to embrace delayed gratification.
Right.
yeah, I think that those are very powerful. And I understand too, Josh, that you're part of Detroit's Generational Wealth Task Force. And so, and you've been able to put some things in place, one of them being the $25,000 down payment assistance program. So talk to us a little bit about, what was your vision behind that and what is maybe some things, including that, or maybe even in addition to that you guys are doing to help close the wealth gap.
Yeah, so that was before I got to the city, I was named to the Generational Wealth Task Force. And part of the task force job was to just create policy and shape policy, a group of policy recommendations that we can give to the administration at that time. And out of that was birthed the down payment assistance program where we invested $20 million in down payment assistance money and turned 800 families into homeowners over a year and a half's time. And they all bought houses in the city. And these people had to be city of Detroit residents for at least a year. in order to be eligible. And not only did they receive the $25,000, they also received whatever that individual financial institution was offering. So if that institution was offering another 10,000, another 15,000, they would get 30, 40, $50,000 in down payment assistance in one whop. We had one story where a gentleman, there was a $120,000 house. A gentleman literally paid $60,000 for that house because he received over $65,000 in down payment assistance from different entities. And so when we were in those rooms trying to shape policy, I brought to the forefront that people are underbanked, they're unbanked, they are financially illiterate at some points in their lives. One of the other policies that came out of it, Bo, is the tangled title policy. One of the things that we see in the city of Detroit is that people die and they do not have the proper things in place to pass on their house, And so being able to talk to people and get them set up with legal representation so that they could set up a trust or they can have a ladybird deed where in the event that they pass, that house stays in their family and they don't have to go through probate court and lose the house potentially. And so we are providing assistance in that area as well, putting our money where our mouth is and helping people continue the generational wealth. It's no use in creating 800 new homeowners. And then if something happened, a life event happens, that wealth is lost to some speculator or some foreign entity that does not really care about the house.
Wow.
Yeah.
Bo has another
that's
question.
major.
But let me say this, Bo. They joke about me being an old soul. However, man, I have to tell you, your soul is old. Your soul. I appreciate it, man. I appreciate your level of maturity, your wisdom. You on another level.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, he tried to do that to everybody on here.
Man,
come on and try to make him feel, younger. You know what I'm saying? I'll play Barry no mind, Josh, man.
Right.
Being an old soul is not a bad thing, sir. It'll save your life.
Oh, it's not at all, man. He does that to everybody, man. So I was curious. I had another question, but I was curious when you were speaking about keeping their home. That's very, very important. Finance is one of my issues. I was curious though, as it relates to using that home ownership. Do you do anything to really help them to leverage that home ownership, the equity, to turn those into assets? Is that kind of part of that program too? And if so, talk to us about that.
Yeah, so one of the things from a policy perspective, we are really trying to change old and antiquated laws in the city of Detroit, zoning codes that are old and antiquated that may have some racial undertones to them.
Imagine that.
In the city of Detroit, we experienced the riots in 1967. After 1967, in 1968, there was a new zoning code, industrial, all of this stuff in the 60s that came about, policies that did not necessarily match us. A lot of our housing is early 1900s, and the zoning code that was put into place in 68 doesn't even match the character of the houses that were built in the early 1900s. So you see some things that were covertly done, and we're in position to try to change those things. And so to answer your question, we're trying to change zoning codes, zoning laws, trying to let people let it be more easy to build on vacant land. We have 60,000 parcels here of vacant land in the city of Detroit. That's one of our most valuable assets. People don't know that we're a 139 square mile city and 60,000 parcels of vacant land. So we're trying to make it easier for people to build on vacant land. Like you said, pulling equity out of the house, connecting them to the financial institutions that have stayed, being able to build tiny homes, accessory dwelling units on top of their house, on top of their garages, being able to build additions to the house, larger houses, more square footage. These are the type of things that we're constantly working on as it pertains to policy and procedure.
That's amazing.
Man, that's awesome, man, because that's really where it's at, policy. we want change, but policy has to be changed. We think it's in the person, but it's really in policy that has to be implemented. So I think that's absolutely great. So just as we kind of bring this conversation to a close, I know there's many different hats that you wear, public servant, CEO, board leader, pastor, coach. I mean, just a lot of different things that you've been able to do. So which of these roles, it could be a multiplicity of these roles, but what do you feel like has most shaped you as a man and your approach to, building up the community?
You know what? I think all of them, to be honest with you, Bo. I take a little bit of everything from everybody and try to build best practices. I think you can learn from people's mistakes and failures and their successes.
Yes.
Um, and, I really have pride myself. I'm not perfect at all, but I pride myself on learning from people's mistakes so that I don't run over the pothole. I'm driving behind you. I'm the generation coming up behind you, and you drove over that pothole and it's still there. I need to learn how to swerve around and go to another lane. So I really think that all of them, I love my community, man. I'm born and raised city of Detroit. I love it. I love serving the residents of the city. But I also love serving people, period. I'm a people person. And my testimony is very deep. And I love sharing my testimony because I believe that there is a single mother out there that needs to hear me. I believe that there is a father who is, in turmoil about being involved in his child's life, and that father needs to hear me. I believe it's a grandmother that's helping somebody out there, their daughter or their son, help raise their son or daughter, and I believe they need to hear me. And so I do not believe in being selfish with my testimony, trying to be secretive. I'm very transparent, and because I really believe that people can overcome by listening to your testimony. And so I think all of these things that I do is just another avenue for me to share that. And everything that all the policies I make or think about or all the suggestions I make are informed by my experiences. And hopefully, I can make a lasting impact. And lastly, I believe in dying empty.
Mm-hmm.
I believe in dying empty.
Mm-hmm.
The most expensive place in the world is the grave because of all the ideas and everything that is buried in it. And so I truly believe in dying empty, getting everything out, writing that book, doing what you need to do, creating that podcast, building legacy, things for your sons and your daughters to listen to years from now. And I have that mindset at 34 years old, and I'm constantly trying to look for a way to duplicate myself and really leave a legacy.
Yeah. Hey, I just want to say, man, you about to have me shed a tear, man. I'm so proud of you, boy. For real. I've seen you develop from a child to where you are today. And you're not only missing or going around the pothole, you're turning around and you getting the street fix.
Yeah.
And I can say thank you.
I appreciate that, Coach, man. That's big time coming from you. Big time.
Yeah, incredible story, man, and testimony. So glad you came on the show this morning. To
Absolutely.
our listeners, before we close out, Josh, how can people connect with you, maybe on social media, even connect with you if they're part of the community and want to get access to some of these programs? Talk to our listeners about how they can take advantage of that.
Absolutely. You can go on Instagram at Coach. Got that from Petway. Coach underscore J Robe. Got that from Petway as well. That was my nickname since childhood from him. So Coach JR underscore JROBE for at Instagram. You can look at me up, Joshua Roberson on Facebook. And then if you're interested in anything in the city of Detroit, you want to learn more, you can go to detroitmi.gov. Or you can just Google the Department of Neighborhoods. You can email me at joshua.roberson@detroitmi.gov. If you're listening, you just want to hear more and you want to get involved or you want to invest in the city, just let us know and we'll get you connected to the right people.
Awesome.
Man, amazing. Well, this concludes another episode of The Lifeline with your host, Barry J. Elliott, Lynchburg Petway, and yours truly, Bo Powell. Now, don't forget to check us out at www.simplybje.com/The Lifeline and subscribe and like us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and now TikTok. Feel free to email us and show us some love at The Lifeline at the.lifeline.podcast.tv@gmail.com. And I want you guys to know we're on a mission. We want to bring light and life into your household, so join us. Let us hear your feedback because it's all about bringing life to you on The Lifeline. Y'all take care.
Thank you for listening to today's episode with host, business expert, and life coach Bo Powell, social media influencer and entrepreneur Lynchburg Petway, and leadership coach and mental health advocate Barry J. Elliott. Join us next week for another impactful conversation on The Lifeline. God bless.